Joey Barton's given a defence of his views about female pundits in football. So are female pundits qualified to talk about the men's game? Well, I've got some women here who would like to respond. And they are Bianca Westwood, who was the first ever female football reporter for Soccer Saturday. Pearl Davis, who's a YouTubing anti-feminist. And Kate Bullseye, who's a co-founder and presenter of the Offside Rule and Football 365. All right, let me start with you, Bianca. I'd imagine that you were going slightly nuts as you heard that, but maybe I don't want to speak for you. What is your response?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, usually I wouldn't give those kinds of opinions any particular credence, but the way in which he tweeted, especially calling out the young girl, the vlogger from Manchester City, I just thought it was out of order, because I've been on the wrong end of dogs abuse when I very first started reporting. And it didn't sit well with me. This is a young girl. She's on social media. She's not presenting Newsnight. She's not saying she's an expert in football. She's there because viewers of football are changing. We're getting more streamers, we're getting more influencers, and that's a different argument entirely. So that's particularly the reason why I didn't like what he said. But who is qualified to speak on football then? Because I've been watching the game for over 40 years. My first game at West Ham was before Joey Barton was even born. I've been watching the game the whole time. I've watched hours and hours and hours of football. I worked behind the scenes at Sky for 10 years before I was even given a shot on camera, watching many of my male colleagues, who were probably not always as good as I was, getting chances that I was never given. So I don't really understand exactly what you need to know. How long do we need to work in the game behind the scenes before we're allowed on camera? To be a pundit, you know, the laws are the same. I can read a game of football. Emma Hayes, Serena Wiegman can both read games of football. Are you saying that they can't provide insight? It sounds to me like Joey's got a problem with particular female pundits who, to his knowledge, haven't done enough in the game. But how does he know? And how do we quantify and qualify that? Because there are EFL players who are commenting, co-coms, being pundits on Champions League games. What level do you have to get to before you're allowed, as far as Joey Barton is concerned, to be able to be a pundit on the men's game?
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's a good question. Let me bring in Kate. Kate, what is your response to Joey Barton?
I think it's really clear that Joey doesn't appreciate that women can study journalism too, and they can study sports journalism. And if you're Bianca Westwood, you can watch thousands of hours of football and commentate and report into a Sky Sports studio, as she did for decades, on the men's game and be very informed. There has to be something more to this, I think. Look, let's take Alex Scott, okay? She's got a degree in sports writing and broadcasting. She's played for England 140 times. She played for her club career over 2 decades. How is she not qualified to talk about the game? Just like any other pundit, whether you're talking about Mark Chapman, Jake Humphries, none of them have played the game, but they've done the same as the rest of us. They've studied journalism, they love the game, and they're expressing their learned opinion and assessment on the game. I don't understand why that's so tricky.
Well, Pearl, I can see you rolling your eyes there. You clearly don't agree.
Well, I keep seeing women given special handouts and special treatment. I'm seeing the same thing that he's seeing. You know, one thing you didn't put in my bio is I'm actually a semi-pro athlete. I've been involved in athletics for 20 years. And no, men and women's sports are not the same. Men jump higher, they run faster. So I see where he's coming from. When I was listening to him talk, he was talking about the best person for the job should be the one that gets it. I didn't see anything wrong with what he said.
But some of the women who are getting these jobs are the best women.
I mean, I've looked at their Instagrams. They look like influencers. I mean, come on. I don't understand why you guys...
Kate is an influencer. Bianca, would you call yourself an influencer?
The one girl you guys brought up earlier, I didn't know her, but I've seen women's soccer, football. Here, I'm in the UK. But women's football, they make it into an agenda, and it becomes a political agenda, and I hate it. It ruins the sanctity of women's sports. Then it just becomes all about this woke nonsense. I agree with him. I think it needs to be the best person for the job.
I think it is the best person for the job.
All right,
and I don't know what kind of problem Joey's got. Is this a woman's problem?
You know, I've seen this everywhere. I've seen this everywhere.
Joe is saying that his 8-9-year-old daughter can never grow up to be a football commentator. Yes.
Why do you guys put words in his
how is
mouth?
she
That's
different?
not
How
what
is
he
she
said.
different? If she goes to study journalism,
All right, let me bring
if she
Joey
knows
back.
about the game.
Let me bring
just
Joey
like
back, 'cause
Adam
he's been-
Scott, just
Joey
like
wants to
Bianca
respond
Westwood,
to
just
that.
like Kelly Cates. How's that different?
All right, let's. Joey's been listening to all this. Joey,
Players don't
you want to
necessarily
respond, I
make
think.
good pundits,
Well said.
and they
Well,
don't always
well
talk
said. Look,
articulately.
I take on board everything. You know, I've known Bianca being in and around the game for as long as she has, and she's worked incredibly hard and does a fantastic job. I wouldn't say Bianca's there on tokenism. That's not what I'm. You know, she's worked incredibly hard and has earned that recognition and reward within the industry. But that's not everybody that's in the game on the female commentary side. That's not. And as the lady rightly points out there, she's seeing exactly what I've said. This is not sexism. This is saying the best person for the opportunity should get that role. We've seen when an inch has been given in other sports. You know, I think, you know, maybe in your collegiate swimming, we've seen huge problems with Lou Thomas and Riley Gaines, and I don't want to even go into that, but we've got to be careful that we promote the best person for the job, who's worked the hardest to get there. And for me, in the commentary space, the sport that I believe I'm a bona fide expert at, the women haven't reached the level in the commentating and punditry as the men, you know, and they're getting opportunities that restrict the men's opportunities, and that's wrong. We should create a meritocracy. The best who work the hardest with the most ability get on and get better and get rewarded and get recognition.
Let me just say something. I'll come to Bianca. Wait a minute. Time out, everybody. I want to just read back Joey's own words with that first tweet. It wasn't a question of meritocracy. You said women shouldn't be talking with any kind of authority in the men's game. Come on, let's be serious. It's a completely different game. Bianca, there was no meritocracy there. It was all women.
Okay. No, listen, Bianca, do you think Bianca, can I just ask you a question? And I respect your opinion massively. Do you think the women's game and the men's game is the same game?
The laws of the game are exactly the same. The same rules apply.
I never asked you that.
Whether it's yellow card, red card, offside. You can read the game. It's still exactly the same. There's 2 goals and 11 players play.
Bianca,
and you can bring
have you ever been tackled at full speed?
It's not about that.
Have you ever been tackled at full speed by a fully grown man and the velocity that involves, the impact that involves?
That really doesn't have anything to do with it.
You seem to have changed your opinion, Joey. When you were talking to Piers earlier, you had a problem with women who weren't qualified to talk about the game,
but he's saying
who didn't have the journalistic background to talk about the game, and now you're saying the game's different.
He's saying that
what do you have a problem with?
He's changing his mind. He's changing his mind all the time.
Have you got a problem with the journalistic coverage, or have you got a problem with the playing of the game?
Please don't all talk over each other, Bianca.
You're just shouting at me. I can't hear you.
Being a top player doesn't mean you're going to be a top pundit.
This is becoming a farce.
But not all pundits.
The men's game. I'm here to talk about the men's game.
You're not giving these women a chance, Joey. You're not giving these women a chance.
I'm not getting paid to get shouted at by you. I'm here to have a sensible conversation.
Not everybody is a consummate broadcaster when they very first start. Did you ever see Gary Neville when he was first on Monday Night Football? He said himself he wasn't brilliant. You have to learn on the job when you're live. You can't learn live television anywhere but live television. That doesn't mean they don't know anything about the game. Maybe they're just not brilliant at broadcasting yet.
His whole point is that women keep getting jobs.
I got absolutely terrorised.
She's not letting anyone else talk.
You've not done this either. I got absolutely terrorised when I first started live reporting because people said I knew nothing about football. That wasn't the case. I'd been watching football since I was 6 years old. I wasn't a great broadcaster at first.
Well,
that's all.
Hang on.
Maybe these female pundits have to be given a chance. Now I get men coming up to me saying how great I am.
I'd like to know from Joey Barton which women are not qualified to do this, because I see some very talented
Joey, you've got to give us one name of someone you don't think is up to it.
Really good job, and I'd like to know which ones do not deserve.
Let's have one name, Joey, before we finish this.
Man City, so he should tell us.
Are you guys
Let me ask Joey, one name, Joey, of someone you don't think is up to it.
One name, Bianca. Would you like one name?
One name.
I'm not even going there. I don't have to give you anything. I've come on to have a sensible debate, and you just want to shout at you.
The problem is, Joey, when you talk about...
All right, I've got to leave it there.
When you talk about this...
I've got to leave it there. All I would say, listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. All I would, listen, we've got to leave it there. All I would say is, I do think Joey's being a bit unfair. If you talk about all women in your tweet, and then you won't name a single woman you actually personally object to, but think it should be a meritocracy, that is a confusing message. And look, I will say also, as I end this, I will say this. I will say, no, we've ended the debate. I will say this. There are a lot of men who I saw replying to Joey, and they've replied to us, who agree with him. So this is a debate that probably ought to be aired, and we've had it, and I appreciate you all joining me. So thank you very much.
They're entitled.